Hey there, Taurus. So in this particular part of the forecast, I'm going to be looking at your attitudes towards career and ambitions over the next 2 weeks. In particular, from the new moon in Pisces taking us through to the total lunar eclipse on the 14th of March. So I'm going to be really looking at sort of how you can identify useful opportunities for yourself in terms of your career. So that can include things like where, if you need to pitch an idea, if you need to pivot on something, how you can take bold moves and have new ideas. Also about how you can boost productivity. It's an interesting time to consider boosting productivity, given that Venus is going retrograde. It's kind of working in a different way, but I'm sure we can find some moments for you to feel quite productive. And how you can see and discern the picture and maybe experiment and consider what else is possible. I think that's a really big question to ask yourself. In terms of navigating challenges, if you've got workplace dynamics playing out, how might you get back in flow? And also thinking in terms of how you can be empowered with your resources. So let's have a look. So these are the key things going on over the next couple of weeks. Whoops, let's just go back. So what I really notice, first of all, is, Pluto right up here at the top of your chart is so close to your midheaven, which is about, the realization of your career, the thoughts of your legacy, your mission in life, the direction you're going in. And so Pluto here is giving you some really, really strong feelings about what you'd like to create. But to be fair, that's been going on for quite some time. I would say from November, your energy and aptitude to create something bigger in the world is really coming on. I would imagine in the last couple of years, really from January 2023 right through to November 2024, as Pluto was sort of dancing over this, I think you've probably gone through some really big shifts. And it may well be that now you're ready to start to take more responsibility for yourself and reclaim some of that power. Any themes to do with power right now in terms of your personal career dynamics is a really strong, it's a real key thing. And if you're not taking the power to be powerful in yourself, you might find that the people in and around your working situation are being powerful with you. So it can sometimes show up as somebody being really over the top bossy. So yeah, I will talk about how to mitigate those circumstances. In fact, I would watch out for that around the 9th and 10th, as the moon comes into this opposition point, and also actually around the 3rd of, so watch out for those dates, in particular of navigating challenges as the moon comes here and here. So on the 3rd and the 9th, you may well feel quite challenged by people and get this sense of wanting to break free of somebody else's tyranny, if there's no one bossy around you, you may well find that you're being a little bit bossier and a little stronger in your personality. So it might be worth toning it down if you're working with somebody that's a little bit more mild-mannered than you are. That's a thought. But anyway, the ruling planet of your career, or planets, would be Saturn and also Uranus. And so one of the things that, is worth considering, and this is significant, Venus is going retrograde from the 2nd. And during that retrograde, she is going backwards and coming into a conjunction with Saturn. And during that time, I'm not entirely sure she actually gets to Saturn before she goes forwards, but she is in a conjunction with Saturn for sure. So Venus, your ruling planet, is actually coming back to Saturn. So to me, that's an indication that right now you're going into a quieter place. You're using your intuition, you're remembering, like Venus retrograde is about remembering better times, remembering good times, remembering your stronger traits, possibly times, old working situations that you've forgotten about, but actually you were really quite dynamite in. It's a time of reviewing past performance, and you're taking those thoughts back to Pluto in the 11th. So to me, it feels like there's a big review process going on. I remember someone talking to me years ago about your acres of diamonds, like the idea that there are lots and lots of ideas that you've had along your whole career path. And, I don't know about you, but for me, I've got loads of notebooks full of ideas that I write down and I think I'm going to get back to, and I never do. And once every 3 months, 4 months, whatever, I pick them up and have a quick flick through, and I'm reminded. Sometimes I pick something up from 3 years ago, and sometimes the ideas from that long ago are now actually current. You often have ideas way ahead of the time, and you have to kind of wait for life circumstances to catch up, and for your body and for your experience, for everything to kind of line up. Well, this is what's occurring to me as I'm looking at this. Venus is coming backwards to really look at what you've still got going on, some of your old ideas and possibly some of your old contacts. She's coming back to Saturn. Saturn can be an older man, an old boss, because Saturn does like represent bosses and people that have a certain amount of authority, in particular with customers, and customer facing, network facing situations. There are lots of ideas coming up. It could be that you're about to get coaching, because like the 12th house, I think, is a great place to get mentorship in. It's a good time to rethink everything, possibly with someone with more experience and possibly with a higher level of gravitas in your profession. So I really think if there is a pivot right now, it's not necessarily one that's dynamically observed. You might be pivoting or kind of stopping for a second just to look around, analyze where you've come to sit down and just rethink. So I really see that you're taking a pit stop, and that from the 13th of April, you'll be moving forwards a lot more calm, a lot more connected to what's really going on, what's a real core value in your life. Because here's the other thing. I think, with all of the energies of other people in your life recently, over the last couple of years, and those influences, if you listen to the overall Taurus forecast, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think you've probably come out of alignment with your own values. And so what's really going on here is you're coming back into your life values, which is informing your career values, so that you can work in a more purposeful way, because that's what you're really feeling the call to do. However, there are some other times that could be quite useful for you. So, Venus is, okay, she's going retrograde. But I really, really like this Sun trine Mars. I think this is quite useful. Now, the Sun does represent your 4th house, which is about your home. And Mars represents your 12th and your 7th. Your 7th has to do with relationships. I notice my customers fall into my 7th as well. I get a lot of customers in the image of my 7th house, just so you know. So the 7th and 4th are pretty big houses. They're really important houses. So this particular trine can get things moving. And of course, whatever you're doing in life also affects where you live and also how you relate to other people. So that's a very big day, a day when things can get motivated. And if you remember me saying earlier at the start of this reading, it's in opposition to Pluto, and it will also be coming into a square with Uranus. The moon, as it's moving through this, this is a really, really big time. So you've got the Sun trine Mars, and then, soon after, the moon in opposition here. So big times. Now, this one on the 11th, I think, is also pretty helpful for you. Mercury conjunct Venus, which will be around about here. I need to go to this chart now. Just around about here. It's in the 12th house. This is a day to absolutely create ideas from your imagination, from your deep intuition. I really think it's almost like a data mind map. It's a day to re-engineer yourself, kind of take yourself apart, put yourself back together again. To me, that's the day when you might consider new strategies for reaching and communicating with the people that are stakeholders or potential clients. Again, it's really hard to talk about work in a really finite way, because we all work in so many different ways. But there's an element of using creativity to have a much greater reach. And the key here, I think, is to really expand your mind and drop all your judgments. The more you drop your judgments, the more you drop your barriers, the more new ideas come in. And that's really answering that question I asked at the beginning of this, is what else is possible for you? And then this is the big kicker here. This is a very, very strong energy, the Sun conjunct Saturn. So that's the Sun conjunct Saturn. The Sun's ruling your 4th, Saturn's ruling your 10th. To me, that's an indication that could create some new working idea, or some ideas on how your work and your life can come back into balance. Now, this is all leading up to the total lunar eclipse in Virgo. This is huge. Whatever decisions you're making around this time, I urge you not to make anything like where you're signing your name on the dotted line, because Venus is retrograde, Mercury is going to go retrograde, and until the 13th of April, when they both are going direct again, I would urge you not to make any permanent changes, because we're coming into the eclipse season and also the astrological new year. So, whatever ideas are coming up for you to find a better balance between your work and your career and your home, especially around the time of this total lunar eclipse, I think your ideas on how you want to be more in charge are going to be blowing up quite exponentially. And I still think there's some more things to drop in. There are changes going on in the world. And I think if you commit to something long term that you can't get out of, or you can't adapt or review, I think you might be shooting yourself in the foot. Now, that does really fit into the financial guidance as well. So if we have a look, what I like right now for you in terms of financials is that Jupiter is in your 2nd house. That's infinitely helpful. And Jupiter also rules your 8th house, which is a good place for you to share in the resources of other people. But it's potentially quite a good place, having Jupiter as your ruler of loans and things like that, where there's extra money available, and so on and so forth. So I think anywhere where things are coming into a helpful connection with Jupiter, I think that's beneficial. The Moon coming into a conjunction with Jupiter around the 6th of March can be quite a helpful time. It's linking up to Venus as well, which it's like the Moon is highlighting the beneficial planets for you, which is giving you the chance to find new ways to strengthen your earnings. But given that Jupiter rules this part, it could also be a good time when you might find money or be awarded money, or you can talk to people about extra money. So I think there are opportunities there. I think the big one is on the 12th. I think the 12th is a great day to really think about your money and how you're managing it. In particular, it could be a good time to get advice from, again, a mentor or somebody of a serious nature, somebody possibly who's got a bit more experience than you. So yeah, there you go. My overarching, I think, advice is just really don't be signing anything on the dotted line at the moment. Keep your options a bit flowing, a bit free. Remember, you are going to be going through a lot of changes over this next year. This next year is going to be changing everyone so much, really, really, truly so much. And yeah, there's so many more opportunities for you that you possibly don't even realize yet. And so over this next couple of months in particular, I think the big changes are, as you are reconsidering your values because of Venus retrograde, and as she starts moving forwards again, I just really think that new ideas are coming out. They haven't been discovered yet. New talents, new opportunities, new passions, new appetites. It's all going to be coming out. And so if you make decisions now, you might find in a few weeks' time, it's time to change. So I hope that's helpful to you. I guess the last thing I just want to share with you, and I didn't put this aspect, I didn't mark these up in the previous chart because these have been going on for a little while longer, but I just wanted to kind of make you aware that right now, like the South Node and the North Node are connected to Pluto and Uranus. Pluto and Uranus are really helping everyone see new possibilities for themselves and to bring in a much greater level of change and transformation. Now, in particular for you, it's transforming your personality and your station in life, and it's really changing the way you work. Now, one of the things that, as this connects into the South Node, it's representing that there's things that you need to let go of. There's things that you've done really, really well, where you've been actively creating. And this particular full moon, even though the desire for you, and it's an eclipse as well, even though the desire is for you to control what you've created and to have a much deeper sense of your own importance, this South Node connection to Pluto and Uranus, I think, is showing that's a bit too easy for you. It's time to come into a deeper trust. And so this particular total lunar eclipse, I think, is going to teach you to trust in the right people. So maybe when I was talking more about, the shifts in terms of the social waters, the networking waters that you swim in, and I was saying you are feeling the need to be back in control. I think that's because you're maybe not connected to the right networks or the right people. So maybe what you might want to do over this next 2 weeks, but actually through this whole eclipse season, is think, okay, here's where I want to be in my career. Now, who do I need to bring into my life that can share and create with me? So you're not necessarily accepting creation with the same old networks that you've got around you. You're looking for a new possibility. So I hope that's helpful. I think it's time to trust in the process that things will work out with new people and new situations. So there you go. That's my 2 penny worth. I hope that was helpful.